alive. And it's not just religious indoctrination. They honestly don't want future generations to be taught about critical race theory, racism, homophobia. It's hard enough to get Black History Month taught, so you could probably forget them teaching Queer History Month. It probably won't happen this generation. I hope that America proves me wrong, but I mean, it's taken 60 plus years for most schools to teach critical race theory. A lot of Republican states don't want it taught because the worst thing in these people's minds is a white person's uncomfortable. Well, history's not supposed to be comfortable. It's to educate. We need to address the whole idea of education. Fundamentalists see it as a way to indoctrinate, to teach kids and teenagers how to adhere to a system that has never worked for everyone's equality. And when these kinds of people vote and elect somebody, like I think his name is Ryan Walters in Oklahoma, these people have no idea what the law says, and separation of church and state is a joke to these people. I mean, do you know how many tax dollars we waste a year in Republican states trying to bring lawsuits against Christian chaplains and secular schools that think it's acceptable to push religion on people? Unless you're at a religious school, we're here to learn. I mean, you can teach religion if it affects the history or the science, the medicine that you're teaching. That's fine. Teaching about a religion doesn't mean you're indoctrinating people. It's called education. But if you talk about Christianity, you need to be as consistently talking about every other religion and how it shaped our society. And America wasn't founded on Christianity. We were founded on white supremacy, slavery, sexism, homophobia, and some parts xenophobia. We need to understand that America is not a Christian nation because that goes against everything the founding fathers believed. The government shall make no establishment of religion as the main goal. That's why we left the United Kingdom, to freely worship. And then 50 years later, we started hanging people during the Salem witch trials. It doesn't take long before the persecuted become the persecutors. It doesn't take long. And that's why separation of church and state is so important, especially in education. Because we need to teach the next generation that nobody has the moral majority. No religion is a captive of morality. That you don't need a God to keep you from doing something bad. If you need a God to keep you from killing, murdering, and raping, you're not a good person. And no God is going to keep you from doing that. Because lately, at least 10 religious megachurch pastors have been arrested for crimes against children and vulnerable women. And if a God can't keep people from doing bad things, nothing can. Any institution, say secular, religious, or a combination, that doesn't want you to have access to consistent secular education is a danger. We call it indoctrination for a reason. And there's something desperately wrong with this country when we elect people that have open contempt for separation of church and state. You can believe whatever you want, as long as you don't push it on other people and use your vote to further your religion's agenda. You can believe whatever you want. I've met some flatliners. I've met some incels. Believe whatever you want. Just don't take other people's rights away with your vote. And don't elect people that don't respect separation of church and state. School is not the place for chaplains. If you want to meet with one, do it off the property. If you have an identity crisis, see a secular counselor. Never combine religion with psychiatry. Because at the end of the day, religion usually wins. People will do unethical things because of religion. Some, not all, and very few ever get caught. It's a sad thing that kids in Republican states are never taught about racism and erasing people who aren't straight. The books, the movies, the curriculum is a hate crime. Because the time when most people figure out their sexuality or have an inkling that they're gay, trans, gender fluid, asexual, I mean, there's so many different niches within sexual orientation. I've heard that anywhere between 3 and 8 years old is the average time when most people figure out what sexuality they are. They may not understand it. They may not have that label for themselves, but they know there's something different about them. I grew up homeschooled. Everything that was taught to me had to fit with the Christian fundamentalist narrative. I mean, if you've ever watched 19 Kids and Counting, that's pretty much it. Luckily, we didn't have a Josh in this family, but that's not the case in a lot of other places. Christian fundamentalism is all about white supremacy. It's about racism and homophobia, transphobia, how to villainize illegal aliens, even though now I call them undocumented taxpayers, because unless you've been previously deported, you're not illegal. There's a lack of empathy, love, and acceptance from fundamentalist people. Love is conditional. It shouldn't be. But when you're in these churches, how long do you think they're going to love you when you announce you're an atheist or you celebrate and protect the rights of LGBTQIA people? Usually, they turn on you. And I've been in 7 churches, Baptists, fundamentalists, that have turned on people. It's very, very sad the way people are treated in these environments. And not much changes. Luckily, we have a lot of denominations that are going more liberal, like Methodist, Lutheran, Vineyard, that is more accepting to people. At the end of the day, people can't help how they're born. They can help how they use or misuse the gifts they have. But fundamentalism is all about controlling females, controlling everything that doesn't give white men the privilege in which they've lived their lives. I mean, I have not seen anything as racist as the history of the Mormon Church, white fundamentalism, and the Republican Party. Why do you think that the majority of Republicans are religious? Why they're fundamentalists, they're traditionalists, they worship the heteronormative family? Because that's what benefits white men. And you really, 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 you cannot justify being a part of the Republican Party anymore. You really can't. When these groups of political and secular groups, they protect the worst people to have around children and vulnerable women, you cannot justify successfully. Maybe for a short time you can, but you cannot long term with morality, sleeping at night, justifying being in a party identifying